This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon from what has got to be one of the most magical places, certainly in southern Africa, Tswalu Kalahari Reserve, and it is just nothing short of an absolute pleasure having you all with us. Davia and myself, Dylan, here in this incredibly ancient, incredibly magnificent landscape, and it is great that you're actually able to join us on these drives that we go on. Please don't be shy to ask us questions. It is really exciting when you do, because it also just highlights things that we don't know as much as the things that we do know about these landscapes. And as you can see, this vista that I'm standing in here is just sublime in so many ways. And I always get so humbled and awed when I actually stand in these hills amongst these rocks, and I just realize how ancient this landscape is. This African wild is just the absolute best. And stretching away in every direction here is just the vastness of what we call the Coronaburg Hills. This range probably stretches 40 or 50 kilometers from north to south, and it's probably about 10 kilometers in width. So it's, in terms of South African landscapes, it's a relatively small area, but incredibly biologically diverse. And we're very blessed here at Tswalu in terms of having this habitat diversity, because it just creates so many niches for such a variety of organisms, and we get things that occur on these hills that don't actually occur out in the dune fields, and obviously vice versa. And when I'm up in these mountains here, one of my my big bird species that I'm always hoping to see, and friends of mine always laugh at me, but I'm always on the hunt for what we call a Cape eagle owl. They actually don't occur that far away from us, but they've never been recorded in this environment. So we see lots and lots of spotted eagle owls in amongst the hills, and some of you may have seen the nests or those owls with us already on drives. But one day, when I'm big, I'm going to find you a Cape eagle owl.
Good afternoon, everyone. From all around the world, welcome to South Africa. It's that time of day, live safari time. I've become quite attached to this giant plated lizard on this termite mound. Unfortunately, the dwarf mongoose are not here, the interaction I'm waiting on, but he's there. My name is Lauren. I do have Theo on camera this afternoon, and I always come here every single day to check if the dwarfies are here. And sadly, they're not, but this little lizard is sunbathing. Actually, he's not that little, to be honest, and I've been trying to habituate him. It's a process, but normally every time the car comes, he ducks inside. But today, he's not, and that's good news. But it is a very, very hot day, to be honest. 25 degrees Celsius here and 77 degrees Fahrenheit. And I think the Nkuhumas are still on our property, everyone. I think I know exactly where they are, so that's my mission. I'm going to head straight to where I believe they are, and I think they did kill a buffalo. It was heard on the dam cam. Lots of activity last night. They were hungry, and I think I know where to find them. So my mission today is to go and look for the Nkuhuma pride and see if they have, in fact, killed a buffalo. I think he's slowly starting to be habituated, this one. I actually can't tell if it's male or female. Reptiles are very, very difficult, unless you were to look at the underside. It could potentially be a female. Stunning animal. When it gets too hot, he'll pop inside and cool down. When it gets too cool, he'll pop outside and warm up in the heat. I had the most incredible interaction with dwarf mongoose. They come, they move around a network of termite mounds. So one day they're going to be here, and one day I'll get my interaction. So we're going to let this little guy be and go in search of the Nkuhumas.
Welcome to the Djuma property in Sabi Sands. We have just started our afternoon safari. Busy checking this little mud wallow for any tracks, because there was an alarming impala just over there, so hopefully we might get lucky with a spotted cat. My name is David Hancock. On camera we have Craig, and we are going to be taking you on this afternoon safari. Like I say, who knows what we're going to find, but hopefully something with spots and rosettes, because that's what we really want to get today. And don't forget, we really like hearing from you. I like getting feedback, any questions and comments. You can send in those questions to all of our platforms. Don't forget hashtag Wild Earth. And if you are under 18 and you want to ask some really cool questions, you use kidssquestions@wildearth.tv. And I know it's common, but look at the beauty of the Birchall starling in the sunlight. Just glistens. I'm going to go a little bit forward so you can see. It's important when you're out here not just to search for the big and the frightening and the things with teeth and claws, the big five as we call them. It's very important to stop, sit back and appreciate the small things like the birds and the trees and the plants and the flowers and the insects. At the end of the day, it's all part of the ecosystem, and one can learn a lot from the seemingly insignificant parts of the bush. Just over there landed my favorite bird to watch, little crested barbet. Hopefully we can see it before it flies away. Do you see it there, Craig? It's on that little russet bush willow branch. Got it. In the shadows there. Like I was saying, it's a seemingly insignificant little bird, but But if you stop and watch it, you realize that it's got its own very important part to play out here in the bush. Stop and smell the roses. Get out and smell and breathe and feel it. That's what I like to do. And I'll do my best to impart those experiences and senses to you. Wherever you are in the world, it's a privilege to have you out here with us, live as we are experiencing it. And it's exciting to know that we have no idea what's going to happen this afternoon. We've just came and stopped on the crest of the Mulwati here. Hopefully get another alarm call. That pan we were checking, I was checking for any leopard tracks. I didn't see any, but we did hear those impala alarm calling. So I'm hoping we get another alarm call. Perhaps there's a cat moving down the river and another prey species can alert it to our presence. Sorry, this is a very hot African sun, and if I use my hat the way I'm supposed to, then you can't see me and I look strange. Oh, it's one of my favorite birds as well. It's very far. I don't know if you're going to get it. There's hornbill on the other side on that kind of dead looking bush. If you go over the quarry. A yellow-billed hornbill. Let's see if we can spot it. I think go left, more left. I love what the Afrikaans call it. Let's see if we can see it on camera. It's quite tough. More left. How am I going to explain it? Just above that quarry. There's one right ahead. Which quarry? There's a million quarries. That one right in front of it if you zoom in there now. It's always funny when you see something so far and you try and explain to the other person in your vehicle. You got it? Zoom in more. There it is, the Tswalu bird. A couple of them, yellow-billed hornbills. And I really love what the Afrikaans call them. We were talking about Afrikaans names yesterday. Does anyone know what these birds are called in Afrikaans? Marshmallow, you've asked about crested barbet. You've asked do they only originate or do we only get them in South Africa, Southern Africa? We do get them up throughout, definitely in the low veld and up through Zimbabwe, Zambia, Mozambique. I'm not sure exactly how far north of that they extend. So, the Afrikaans name for this bird, not sure if there's been any guesses, but it's a geelbek neushoringvoël. I think I've got that right. Geelbek neushoringvoël. It's a really cool name. It basically means yellow-beaked nose-horn bird, or yellow-mouthed nose-horn bird. Brilliant description. Also known teasingly as the flying banana. And of course, don't forget the famous Zazu in The Lion King was based upon the character of that yellow-billed hornbill. So that's why it's such a common bird in Africa. It's famous. So much to learn out here. And let's see what we're going to find.
We've got the mating pair. I think they're going for a drink and there's a carcass there, I'm sure of it. Blondie and his lady are here. I can see vultures in the trees. We're going to come back here because, believe it or not, the carcass is not going anywhere. And we're going to follow this beautiful romantic couple taking a leisurely stroll along the road. And of course, a male defends his lady no matter what. So we're just going to slowly... Oh. I'm convinced the Nkuhumas are here. Convinced there's a carcass. I think those people who watched a dam cam and assumed that there was a buffalo kill, I think you were 100% right. There's a buffalo kill. Okay, I'm just going to try and keep up with this pair before they walk too far away. I think they're hot. They're obviously very active. Mating lions is fast and furious. It's exhausting for both of them. So they're seeking... Okay, they're not going for water. Forget I said that. But oh, he's not leaving her side, that's for sure. Are you, boy? Oh, you look exhausted. It's not easy for them. She is acting on biological urges. She's in estrus and she has to mate. She has to mate. And of course, he's reacting on scent. He cannot resist the scent of a female in estrus. He must guard her. He must ensure that he is the one that mates with her. Why? To ensure that he is the one that fathers her offspring and his bloodline continues. It's very interesting dynamics in male lion coalitions because if they're related, the dynamics are different to if they're not related. So lions can form coalitions with anyone, any other male. They don't have to be relatives, but if they are relatives, that's far more beneficial because they can, well, mate and reproduce by proxy. So you might not get the chance to mate with that female, but your brother did. So your genetics are still, your sort of bloodline is still being enforced there. Whereas if you're not related, and Lion 1 gets to mate with the Lioness, but Lion 2 does not. He does not benefit in any way. He's not mating by proxy. No. Oh, she's going to get up. She's going to get up. He's alert. He gets up. He follows her every move like a shadow. Hannah, they can last up to a week. And it's a very intense affair. They exhaust themselves. Yep, I think it's going to happen, everyone. Oh, he's trying. I'm going to quickly go forward. Nope. There we go. They are exhausted. She didn't even swipe him at the end. Normally that's a sign that they're sort of at the end of the mating bout. They're exhausted. Normally the females roll straight onto their back. This is fantastic to have them on Juma. I don't want to lose them, but I also think the rest of the pride are just in there where the vultures are. I wish I could split myself in two here and go and investigate. So yes, sorry, Hannah, I was answering your question. It can last up to 7 days, normally on average 5 to 7 days, and they really don't eat, they don't drink, they just exhaust themselves. It goes all day and all night, which really isn't as fun as that may sound. It's really physically exhausting for them, especially the male. But they've got to do that. And he's got to stand guard. If he does step aside and leave her unattended, then another male will swoop in. And she will also seek another male. She's promiscuous, which means that she will mate with as many males as possible because all her intentions are about the offspring. Rex, the lions are on the road. Sorry, there's another vehicle approaching rather fast. And yes, she just thinks about the offspring and the safety of them. So having all members of a coalition believe that they are the father, then that ensures their safety. She's a mother after all, or a mother to be. Okay, I'm definitely going to go and search to see if there's a carcass. So either way, I'll be with the pride or this mating pair.
Notice these stunningly coloured little beetles on this acacia, and these are called scale insects. So each one of them has got this very waxy, this heavy waxy coating on them, but they've actually got a very sweet taste to them that the ants go crazy over. And I don't know if you can see, there's a number of ants running up and down the stem. Darby, I don't know if you can get that. So these are called cocktail ants, and the reason they're called cocktail ants is because they cock their tails. And so that's like really cool. So these ants actually act as guardians of these little scale insects. But the scale insects, they are heavily dependent on the health of the plant to survive, because they're actually extracting liquids from the plant to get the nutrients that they need. And so if anything causes the plant to die, this is what happens. So these ones are dead now. So I'm actually going to bring this branch a little bit closer to you. So something has killed off this branch over here.
We've just found a couple beautiful inyala in the Mulwati. Very relaxed, chilling in the shade. Something so graceful about them. With their unique white stripes, causing some people to call them cinnamon rolls, apparently. Who called them cinnamon rolls first? The first time I heard it was probably Steve. Interesting in Nyala's social structure, you don't really see herds or specific groups. They kind of, almost like giraffe, they get together and they separate. So they can be a couple animals together like this, or they can be, I've seen groups of over 20. But they don't stay together long and they disperse again. And they don't really have territories, they just seem to have a dominant male in a certain area. It's also difficult to really figure out their social structure because you don't see them that often. They tend to like the thick areas. Difficult to see all the animals in the group. There may be a few more behind we can't see now. But that's what makes them so special, their secretive behavior. As opposed to other animal like impala or wildebeest that are always out in the open, it seems. No, they just about disappeared from view. Ariel, you say their tails are so fluffy. Let's see if we can get a closer look there. They are very fluffy, aren't they? It's like a beaver tail. Not Not so busy now in the winter with less insects, but come summertime that little bushy tail is going to be wagging overtime, keeping them flies away from that nether region. Look at those big ears. Very important for them to have excellent hearing as they spend the majority of their time in this thick bush. Big ears. Big eyes. Better to see you with, my dear, and better to hear you with, my dear. Although instead of my dear, they're listening for predators, the very predators that we are trying to find. Always alert, always aware, even though they're feeding and relaxed. Even the slightest little noise or rustle in the bush will attract their attention. Sassy Cassie, you've asked, are Nyala going extinct? I think I heard that correctly. And definitely not. We've got lots and lots in this part of the world. Surely they've become locally extinct in certain parts of Africa, where perhaps war and pestilence and hunger has caused a local extinction. But as far as the population goes, they are at a very healthy population. Interestingly, they're actually one of the most bred animals in South Africa, meaning we have professional game breeders that breed stock and sell them to replenish wild areas. Very common animal to breed and farm with. And it's not like a farm like you might think. It's large open areas that are made available to them to keep safe and have good feeding ground, and then traded with commercially. So no, Sassy Cassie and Nyala populations are very stable, very strong, except in areas like I mentioned earlier where there might have been other extenuating circumstances that caused a local extinction, but then it would be the case for all wildlife in that region. And people often talk about, for example, elephants being endangered, and it's a difficult thing because you have to either look at a local area, a conservation unit, or you have to look at the whole continent. And it's very difficult to put statistics and numbers to a species because you have to first conclude whether you're looking at one specific conservation area like the Greater Kruger, for instance, where we have a very healthy population of elephant, or if you're looking at a war-torn country where pestilence and violence and war has ravaged the country and caused a huge decline in their populations, where those animals are indeed endangered, very much so in those countries. Sorry, Sassy Cassie, that was a very long-winded answer, but hopefully it better explained. I think we're going to carry on cruising down the Mulwati, see what else we can rustle up in the bush.
Our lines are flat. So my update, there's a buffalo carcass, vultures in the tree, not a scrap of meat left on that buffalo, but it's fresh. You can smell it. It's definitely fresh, and that tells me that Nkuhuma's feasted last night and finished the whole carcass. Rexon is here as well, and that's the only explanation we can both think of. There's a carcass that wasn't there yesterday. She lifts her head, he lifts his head. He's like your shadow. and they must have been really, really hungry. I had them on Twin Dams Road. They went past quarantine. They must have came in this direction and taken a buffalo. He doesn't miss a second, does he? He doesn't miss a beat. Rexon's calling them the honeymooners on the radio, which is quite sweet. Oh, they're going flat again. They're making their way to Treehouse Dam. They're thirsty. Okay, we're just going to wait until we can get a little bit of space. Let me try and reposition Theo. Let's see if I can navigate my way through here. We can get a view up here. How's this, Theo? Have I just put that branch in your way? Let's see. There's a possibility that I might have. Yeah. That's quite artistic with the branch in the frame there. What do you think? The flies must be annoying. Now, when you think of reproduction in the animal kingdom, it's fascinating because it's very different for male and female. So eggs are generally energetically expensive to produce. So if you're a female and you're producing eggs, they're large in comparison to sperm. They're very, very large, and they're packed full of nutrients. They're really, really nutrient rich, and that makes them very, very costly. Whereas for males, I'm afraid, sperm is really not that costly to produce. They're small and produced in millions. So already, when you look at the different gametes for male and females, it's a different scenario. Ondeka, can you just repeat that question one more time, please? George, you're asking, do lions... Did you get that, Theo?
Do they pause mating?
Pause mating. Pause. Ah, not like lion pause, as in halt pause. No, they don't. It's mating first. It's all about mating. Mating, 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 George. And nothing really stops them, which means normally by the end, they'll have feasted before the mating bout, so they've got enough energy to sustain themselves. If you think about it, I always mention the feast and famine lifestyle. They are used to that. They are used to bouts of nothing, no food for a long time, and they can survive. So normally by the end of the 5 days or the week, they are absolutely ravenous. If food was put down in front of them right now, if we were to deliver them a delicious impala carcass, then they would eat it. But we are, of course, not going to do that. But they wouldn't stop mating to go hunting because the male would completely lose the female, and that's him lost his chance with her. So that would definitely not happen. So because of this sperm being easy to produce biologically, it means that males have sort of evolved to be extremely promiscuous. And females are a little bit more choosy about it. They're a little bit more detailed about what they do and who they do it with. Survival of the species at the end of the day. So I am going to sit with the honeymooners and hopefully we'll get some action soon.
See, one of my big problems is I cannot resist mountains. And if there's a mountain close by, I'm like almost compelled to try and go up it if I can. So So while we were talking about spotted eagle, Cape eagle owls, and I mentioned spotties, I've got one of my favourite pairs on Tswalu. Has been living in this area for about 10 years now. Well, I saw them about 10 years ago, and they've been here ever since. So, and they're going to be going into the nesting season now. September, October, they're going to be in it. So we're very close. So I'll ferret around for that. But while I'm at it, I just wanted to have a look at these gorgeous colours on these rocks. You'll notice all these crazy patterns. You got oranges, you got greens, there's a bit of yellow on it, there's blacks, there's greys, stunningly patterned rocks. But what it is, in fact, these ones higher up here are actually even better. This face over here. So what it is, it's not actually the rock surface that's that colour, and some of you may already have guessed what it is. This is one of the most unique organisms on the planet. It's called lichen, L-I-C-H-E-N, lichen. And what is incredible about it, it's actually an amalgamation of two completely different species. It's a algae and a fungus. Oh my goodness! Oh my word! Check that out for me. I've lost the way. Yeah, it's a fungus. Yeah, it's a fungus and an algae. Anyway, it's a combination of two organisms. Okay, and what they do is they have got this incredible tolerance for surviving in the absolute harshest conditions you can imagine. And they're actually found pretty much on every continent. I don't know about Antarctica. I must check that out. Anyway, I'll have a look at that as well. But these little guys, separately, fungus and the algae, they cannot survive on their own. So they are it's a combination species, and they are inextricably linked. You will never find them growing apart. They just cannot. The one actually breaks down the rock surface, the fungus, and then the algae photosynthesizes. And you get so many different species. One of our challenges that we've got, I really actually want to build up a species list for Tswalu of all the different lichens that we get here. But the problem is there are so few people globally, literally, there's probably a handful of people globally that are actually really good with their lichens and that know their lichen species. And just because one looks similar to something you see in a book, it doesn't necessarily mean that it is that species that you're looking at over there. So yeah, I just really wanted to stop and show you this because we are still looking for lions. But Vilak has asked, would any animal feed on the lichens? Soon, not in this area to my knowledge. And I will say it straight out there, we know so little about these things. Okay, for me to go out and say, nothing feeds on them, I would be stunned if nothing fed on this. There are one or two butterfly species that do feed on lichens. They don't occur here. I think they occur in KwaZulu-Natal. The species of buffs, the caterpillars feed on them. But we don't have those butterflies that occur over here. But for every organism, there will be something else that feeds on it. So I can't see. So essentially what you're looking at here, these rock surfaces are covered in plant life all over here. And I can't see that nothing feeds on this.
Well, they're not shy, everyone. This is on the dam wall. Completely exposed. So there's no shyness here. Oh, look at them. They didn't drink. I completely read that entire scenario wrong. They walked right past the water body. And there's no way they can't be thirsty. No way. They're not even lying in the shade. They're lying in the really hot temperatures of the sun today, 25 degrees Celsius. Mating. Furiously at that. was going to count how long it took him to reposition to meet her. She's not even facing you, boy. I think she might be using you. Oh, look at their tails, Theo. We keep intertwining their tails.
How many battlefield vehicles on Juma?
Making little love heart shapes. No, I'm joking. I'm taking that too far now. We were actually Theo's giggling. We were actually talking earlier, and it's just necessity. It's a biological drive. There's a lot of things that I believe animals do for pleasure, but this is just a necessity, and I don't think it's easy for them. Luckily, they had that buffalo on Gowrie Main. They're both fed. And this could be the next generation for the Nkuhuma Pride. The gestation period of lions is actually very short, 3.5 months, 110 days. So in 3 months' time, everyone, we could have a new generation. From my observations, I always feel that the lioness looks slightly uncomfortable, just from her body position, her behavior. I wonder if there is some sort of discomfort to her being an estrus. She can't rest, she can't relax, probably hardly had any sleep. It's a very intense affair all round. But he just looks magnificent sitting there, looking out above the dam. Sassy Cassie, you're asking why is a male lion so quick to finish his mating? I think that would involve a lot of insight into the male anatomy of a male lion, and I'm not sure I have those details for you, Sassy Cassie. What a question. Like I mentioned, it's just a necessity. They're not mating for fun or for sort of social interactions. It's a biological drive that's forcing them both to come together, urges that they can't resist in order to produce the next generation. It's fundamentally important that this mating bout is successful and the avokas once again will produce a new litter with the Nkuhuma Pride. It doesn't need to be a long affair. Remember, I always talk about energy budgets. And any species, whether it's a mammal, a bird, a reptile like the lizard we saw earlier, they can't afford to go into any sort of energy deficit. They must always stay on the plus side. So mating for a long time would waste a lot of energy. So instead, with lions, through natural selection, they've evolved to mate frequently but short bouts. The job just needs to be complete. If that makes sense. Another factors to sort of take into consideration from a perspective of sustaining a species, you've got to factor in predation and natural mortality, especially in lions. The cub mortality rate for the Kruger is 50%. That's very high. And the sort of result of combating that is to produce as many strong offspring as possible. So these lions here don't just want to produce one cub. They're not cognitively aware of that, but biologically, the more strong offspring they can produce, the better. am going to sit here and enjoy watching these two honeymooners who are not even facing each other anymore. And of course, we'll keep following them for as long as they go.
Well, I'm glad our honeymooners are still doing well out there, enjoying their time away. We are still in the Mulwati. Just stopped to look at this herd of impala. One seemed to have given an alarm call, but they all seem quite relaxed now, so I don't think there's much disturbing them. Interesting noticing these diggings in the riverbed, all along the riverbed down here in front of us. You may have seen this before, but perhaps some of the newer viewers haven't. These are elephant diggings where, especially in the dry season when there's no water running here, they can dig for the water that's just below the surface. During the summer rains there'll always be a trickle of water here that the animals can drink from, but in the winter time when the water dries up, then they'll find water just below the surface and elephants can smell it. And they'll actually dig for it with their feet, their big shovel spade feet, and get to the crisp, cool water that's just underground. There's actually a hole here right next to us. Maybe I can get out and show you. So this is dry now, but if we dig just a little ways, maybe we'll come up with some water. Not only elephants that do this. I've seen a lion doing it. I've seen baboons doing it. This one is quite deep. The water is low this time of year, but I'm getting to some water. You're not going to be able to see it on camera, but I'll pull it up for you. What elephants will do is they'll just come and dig here, let it settle a bit, and then stick their trunk in the hole. I'm just letting it trickle in, and I'll pull it up for you. Now it's nice and full of water. There we go. Can you see that, Craig? All that water. Lots of water. If I move this away, you might be able to see it. I absolutely love doing this. It reminds me of when I spent lots of time in the bush and you run out of water. Perhaps on a extended patrol. I used to work in anti-poaching and you'd spend days on end in the bush. And sometimes your water would run low and all you had to do is get down to a riverbed, dry riverbed like this, and just dig. And sure enough, you'll find water. The trick is now, as you can see, it's quite muddy. What we would do is you would pack some rocks in here. Actually, I'd go a bit deeper if I was going to drink this because it's quite mucky now. Pack some rocks in this hole and just sit here for half an hour. And eventually all the sediment would go down to the bottom. And then you'll get nice, crisp, clean water because the sand is actually a natural filter. If you check your swimming pool filter, if you've got a swimming pool, then you actually see on the inside is sand, which is a very good natural filter. So if you allow this water to just sit here a little while, then it'll become nice and clean and drinkable. Lots of water. What's also cool, I'm actually going to wash my hands in it, is that other smaller animals like a duik or an impala that might have struggled to dig that far down will now come and benefit from the elephant digging. So, Not only do the elephants get to quench their own thirst, but they also assist the other smaller animals in getting some much needed H2O.
No mating has occurred since you last saw us. We're taking a little break, a much needed break, I think. And when it comes to mammals, mammals produce milk for their offspring. So male mammals can actually never be the sole caregivers because they don't produce milk. They can provide assistance in raising offspring, and assistance in various mammals is very, very helpful because what happens is it allows the female to produce more sort of energetically costly litters because she's getting assistance from the male. Now, in the case of lions, she's not getting any assistance from the males, but she is receiving assistance from the other lionesses in the pride. The pride help protect, the pride help guard, and of course with lions they all allosuckle. So therefore lions can actually invest in very expensive or energetically expensive, I'm talking about litters, because there is assistance available, but it's not coming from the males. In some mammals, males will assist. But unfortunately, this is not the case for lions. And of course, male lions have a terrible reputation for infanticide. Infanticide is when male lions will kill young lions, lion cubs. And this sort of infanticidal behavior is very disturbing for humans from a human perspective, but it actually accelerates the onset of estrus in the females. That's why it happens. That's the biological purpose. New males come in, they kill the cubs, which is very upsetting. I've seen it happen in front of my eyes in the Masai Mara, but the males are trying to get all of those females to come into estrus again, and then therefore they can mate with them and sire their own offspring more quickly. Males don't want to invest looking after time, energy, looking after another male's cub that is not part of their coalition. That doesn't make any biological sense. That's why infanticide happens. And the actual figure for African lions is 27%. So 27% of cub mortality is said to come from male infanticide of new incoming males. The Avoca males are never going to harm the current Nkuhuma cubs or the future Nkuhuma cubs while they are around. But it's the new males, new coalitions that you have to worry about. They are the ones that will kill. And 27%, of course, that's about a quarter. It's quite a high percentage related to infanticidal behavior. But if you actually really focus on sort of the natural selection, the drive, the pathway of evolution for infanticidal behavior, they actually say that this has had a real strong effect on the social behavior of the females. So the reason the prides are so strong, they're so cohesive, they're such a tight-knit unit, the bonds that female lions have in a pride is just, I think it's incredible. And it's probably been driven for many, many years through natural selection because of this behavior. Stick together. I think they're coming towards the end of their sort of honeymoon, shall we say. The mating is not as intense or as frequent as it is at the start. So males on average have about, now this is an average figure, a 2-year window in which they can pass on their genes. So male lions live a lot they have a much shorter lifespan than females do, and there's only a small window of their life when they're in their prime, you know, in their tenure. And that's the time of their life that they will have the most chance to spread on their genes. And they say on average it's about 2 years, and it can extend to 3 years, 4 years, depending on the environment. But generally speaking, it's on average a 2-year window. And that's why they're very, very strict in guarding their prides and guarding their females. Look at them, they're not even facing one another. They're not spooning. They've had enough. Back to back. I just find it really fascinating that they're not even seeking any sort of shade or drinking water. The water is right there. We're at Treehouse Dam. And that shows you their focus, their drive is elsewhere, on each other, of course. They're not stopping for a single moment.
In charge of the
I am considering to think if we can reposition so that when they do stand up, we can get a front view. So I'm going to currently debate which way to reposition, and hopefully they'll be meeting again soon.
So what we've got is something really beautiful and really special, and I just wanted to show it to you. Like all the things we see are beautiful and special. So this is the dried flower head of a bushman's poison bulb. It's this beautiful big underground bulb with lots of leaf sheaths. One of our colleagues down in the Lowveld, I think, or Pinda, was showing you one the other day. We've had a look at one or two. But while I was up the mountain over there, I actually came across this. And it's such an amazing design. So these flower heads come out, and you get these beautiful sprays of pink flowers all over that. Super important for butterflies. They're really important for as a nectar source for these little things. But what is cool about this design? Okay, on the tips of each one of these little stalks over here. Okay, yeah, that's where each flower sits. Okay, so there's probably, 100 flowers on this thing. But once that flower's died off, and the ovary starts developing, and it produces the seed, but it doesn't produce a seed head with multiple seeds on each one. So it's not like it forms a little capsule that breaks open and there's lots of seeds. Okay, each one has its own one that develops over here, and that is the seed. And sometimes, if these things are lying on the ground, they will actually start germinating and actually see like a little root coming off it. So you'll have this will still be green, sometimes a little bit brown, but normally green. You'll have this little bulbous pod on top, actually with the roots starting to grow out the side already. But the design of this is so funky, it is unbelievable, because this actually tumbles. We don't have enough of a wind, unfortunately. I was hoping we'd have a little bit more of a wind, but we don't. But anyway, so this tumbles. And as it tumbles, these little seeds actually just break loose, dink, 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 and that's how it distributes itself. And sometimes when we're walking out, the area where the meerkats are, other areas that we've been, there actually are small little ones of this growing. I actually had one in a plant pot many, many years ago, and in 7 years, I grew it from seed, and in 7 years, it had two small little leaves about that height. Tiny, 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 very delicate little leaves. So when we get these immense, and literally they sometimes, let me put that there. Maybe it'll roll for us. I don't know if it will. Whoa, look at that. Come on. rolling. There we go. There we go. Come on, you can get over that final hurdle there, my man. Look at it. Yay, baby! So that's how it works. Now we know. But anyway, yeah, so these things take a long time to grow. So Maya's asking, what are the... Yes, it's going all the way down the road. We don't have to go to it, but this plant is he's like running away from us. Check there. Come back. Wait for me. Yeah, so these... It's that big ball. It's just catching my eye there. It's that big ball and pink flowers, beautiful pink flowers all over the top of it. They're spectacularly beautiful. Look at this guy. We will see you next year sometime. Au revoir.
Wild Earth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the Wild Earth family.
Maybe I should plug back into the game viewer. Oh, we've just came down here to Vuitila Dam. Spotted this little group of elephant in the mud, doing what they do best, having a lovely mud bath. Does look very appealing. Half of me wants to go and join them there in the mud, although I do think I may get squashed if I try. So we're just going to have to sit here and enjoy them from a distance. Ooh, lovely scratch there. Just get it right, that's a spot. Oh yeah. This one here is working on its side stroke, perfecting it. I know you asked, can an elephant use their trunk to blow bubbles into the water? They most certainly can, and they do quite often. It's quite comical. It's almost like they do it for fun. If that one's not careful, it's going to kick its mate's legs out from under it and it's going to fall on it. Very funny, very cute. They are just loving this. Splish splash, I was taking a bath on about a Saturday night. Rub-a-dub, just relaxing in the tub, thinking everything was alright. Definitely a good theme song for this little mud party. And of course, not only is it fun, but it's very beneficial for the elephant. Everything from cooling them down to being a natural barrier from our harsh African sun. And last but not least, suffocating any parasites that may be on them as that mud cakes and dries. Parasites will become suffocated and die. Rubbed off or fall off later as that caked mud is shed from the elephant's body. That one on the left it's like Dumbo. It's like it's had a little bit too much. Pure satisfaction. Elephant in the mud. Ah, cool. I'm sure those two youngsters are sad to have to leave the mud party, but Mom's obviously called and it's time to go.
A warm welcome to all our viewers. We are here at Beyond Ngala, and we are looking at one of the big male lions. So early on we weren't live is because there were some reports of a leopard with young cubs that we haven't seen yet. So these cubs I don't think have ever seen a vehicle before, and we were trying to see if we can get a view of them, but unfortunately it was in an area where the signal wasn't too great. But luckily we know more or less where that area is, and hopefully in the next little while we'll try and see if we can get the viewers a glimpse of these new possible leopard cubs. But in the meantime, so of course we were able to find these lions. So I'm Nikki here at Beyond Ngala. I'm going to be your ranger today, and with me on the camera is Owen. Now, just to show you on the map where we have been so far, let me just grab here a porcupine quill in order to use it as a little pointer. So we are currently right over here in regards to the map, so this section right over here. Now, earlier on we were more or less in a south and westerly direction, so around this area right over here, and that's where we found that leopard with the youngsters. So they were seen this morning by the trackers, and we tried to find them again, but unfortunately, as we said, the signal wasn't too great. So from here on we made our way all the way back to around about this section here, and this is where we found these lions this morning. Now what we're hoping for is, because the two brothers are together, and possibly some of the members of the pride have moved off in a westerly direction and some in the southerly direction, there's a good chance that later on this evening they might start getting up and start moving in that direction, or possibly even roar to try and meet up with the rest of the pride. But that's just a little bit of an idea, more or less. Remember, this is east, west, south and north, and we're mainly focusing this afternoon in the central and the western part of the reserve, so that's where we are currently watching these lions. Now his head was up, and then the tiredness just overwhelmed him, and eventually he just decided to go and lie down again. Now this is not the same one we saw this morning. This is the brother, and how we know that is if you look at the mane, you'll notice it's a lot more blonder in color. Not as it doesn't have that two-tone lighter and darker color like the one we saw earlier on. But still, knowing that it is a lion and it is a male lion, probably moved quite a bit this last night and early this morning, and eventually decided to come and lie down in the shade here just to rest up, wait for it to cool down before he starts moving from here. Nick, you could possibly find that lions could enter waterhole to cool down, but it is very unlikely that it could happen. it's more likely for other animals to do so. For example, in this area we find more hyenas that will lie down in a shallow pool of water, but lions in general, unless they need to cross a certain area to get somewhere, it's very unlikely that they'll necessarily just wade into a waterhole and then go lie down there. They might just go find a nice spot. I mean, this male, you can see, look at the grass in the picture, and you see how the grass is moving. So he's basically channeled himself on top of this little rise in the shade with a little breeze blowing over him. So that's enough to cool him down. And there's no need for him to possibly go into the water and lie down in the water. There's other dangers of doing so. I mean, in the heat of the day, let's say if he goes into a waterhole, if there's possibly crocodiles that are in that waterhole, they won't back down for a lion. I mean, for them, there's no distinction made. Whatever they can grab hold of, they'll grab hold of. And the other thing for him, I also can imagine for a big male lion going and lying down in the water might not be as comfortable as just finding a nice patchy shade where you can just rest up and sleep for the day. But I do enjoy the colors here, especially on the grass. You'll notice all the grass look like they have this golden edge around the rim. And then, of course, that male, having that light-colored mane with that touch of sunlight gives it this golden appearance. You see next to the ear. And just look at how slowly he's breathing. It just tells you how relaxed he is. And he doesn't worry about anything that's going on around him. Bongs, the size of a pride will mainly be determined by the availability of food and also the competition within the pride. So in some areas, when the prides tend to get too big and some of the individuals end up not getting a meal. So let's use an example. Let's say there's 10 lions in an area. With these 10 lions, if they catch a buffalo, it might sustain them for the next 4 or 5 days in between meals, depending on how big the buffalo would be. But if the pride goes all the way up to 20, they might have to catch 2 buffalo. If it goes more, they have to catch 3, 4 buffalo. And once they start moving into an area and they unfortunately can't sustain that, the prides will then turn to break off into smaller units in order to be more successful, and so that each individual can possibly just grab a bite.
Well, we were leaving the dam, but as we were leaving, this big old boy came down. Craig thinks perhaps it's Mr. Norman. I've never met Norman, but apparently there's an elephant bull with a big chunk out of his ear named Norman, so maybe it's him. We're just enjoying watching him drink. Listen to the sound. Let's just listen there as he greedily gulps up that clean water. those huge feet, like shovels. Very good at digging, especially for water, as we saw a bit earlier on in the game drive, but no need today. A nice full dam will do him just fine. I didn't quite get that question. My comms broke up. Maybe you can give it to me again, please. I'm just gonna sit here a bit longer and watch him. Unfortunately, I'm not getting any comms unless Craig heard that. That's because I'm down here in the dip. But I will answer that question as soon as I can hear it. Sorry for that, sometimes the radios play up. Lovely, it's like a boardwalk. He's a runway model. Mr. Elephant strutting his stuff. Like he owns the place, he just as may well. No one's going to challenge him out here. He's even got the walk for a catwalk. Very, very cool. Well, we are going to reverse out of here, see if we can get back in radio signal. But what a lovely bit of time spent with the elephant.
Our honeymooners have not moved a muscle. They've actually gone into quite a deep snooze, which is another sort of way to realize that the meeting's not as intense or furious. It's getting towards the end for sure. They're sleepy, they're tired. They will mate again, absolutely, but we've repositioned so that we get the front view. Sounds a bit bizarre, doesn't it? Waiting on animals mating, but I think it's slightly nicer to see the faces. Now, going back to infanticide, there's something in the animal kingdom called filial infanticide, and that's basically when any parent of any organism actually kills its own offspring. And this can refer to males or females, filial infanticide. And female lions have been known to sort of, well, conduct filial infanticide. And this is normally when a mother, a lioness, will deliberately abandon her litter when she only has one cub. So say, for example, she only has one cub remaining. She will intentionally just abandon that cub because maybe it's not worth the energy that would be involved to raise that cub. And if that happens, that is filial infanticide. So females can do that too, not just the male lions. So sometimes abandoning one cub, as sad as it sounds, it actually sort of increases the female's lifetime reproductive success because she's not investing so much in just this one cub. It makes more sense to invest in much larger litters. And that's why you will see abandonment take place in the animal kingdom. It can also occur if the cub is really handicapped or if the cub is weak or suffering from a disease. The female will make that decision to abandon the cub. And it's sad, but it's all about the individual's reproductive success. Is it worth putting all your energy into raising one single cub who may be slightly weak? Or is it better to go into estrus again, mate again with the current coalition that's dominant over your pride, and then produce a much larger litter and invest in that litter? And that's quite out with the human realm of thinking. It's not so easy to get your head around. But unfortunately for animals, that's what makes sense, especially lions. You will see lionesses with one cub. I'm not saying that's always the case. It's all about the situation, but abandonment does happen. It is quite common in lionesses to abandon one cub. Penelope Cruiser, I would imagine so, yes, for the exact same reasons. If it's just not worth it. All about the energy budget and that level of investment that you're going to put into your offspring, trying to raise a potentially weak cub or potentially a cub who's maybe not going to survive anyway, then in the animal realm, that's possibly not worth it. So yes, there will be many organisms out there that will abandon their offspring if they have to. But from a human perspective, it doesn't sound, it's difficult to interpret. Now this has been quite some time. I said well over 10 minutes before this pair have, well, mated. And you can actually time the matings. I haven't been doing that, but you can do that, and that's always a good indicator at where they are in their sort of mating cycle. I wonder if they had some of that buffalo last night. It is completely demolished. Well spotted, Theo. There we go. Theo's giving you a view of the I think they're all whitebacks. Whiteback vultures. Away off in the distance there, right under that tree. I'm not sure what tree it is. Right at the bottom of that tree is the carcass. And again, I'm not sure what these vultures are waiting for because there's really almost nothing left. It has to be the Nkomas. I followed them last night. I followed the entire story. And it has to be their buffalo kill. So don't forget, this is your safari. We're live for you. So please do talk to us. Send in all your wonderful questions using that hashtag WildEarth on Twitter, at FC on the YouTube chat stream or Twitch. And kids, if you're watching, you can ask your questions too. You just send them in via email to kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. Oh no, that one at the very top, the top left is a hooded. That's not a whiteback. They look very different, the outline of the body. I can't get a good enough view of the other ones, I'm afraid. But that one at the top left is definitely a hooded vulture. So if that buffalo carcass really did belong to the Nkuhumas from last night, it is completely demolished of all. Oh, that's an African harrier hawk. That's not a scavenger. And Jim Nodine must just be here for the party. Well done, Theo. That was absolutely stunning. So of course I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm going to wait on these sleepy heads waking up.
We just managed to reposition and we found the other male that we saw this morning. So this is the brother of the one we just saw earlier. Now if you notice, you can actually see the way that he was lying down. Look at that little mohawk on top of his head. But how beautiful is this line? I mean, just if you look at his face, like it tells you 1,000 stories. Just imagine all the battles that he's been in to try and chase any other unwanted male out of the area. And also imagine even him and his brother, whenever they had to make a kill around a carcass, like the amount of aggression that would have been shown from each of one of them in order to get as much meat as they possibly can. And you can see there, it looks like there might have been something that is hurting his right eye, because you can see he's constantly closing it and opening it, and now actually just closing it. But very, very majestic. I mean, the whole way that this lion is lying down is absolutely impressive. This is Yorkshire. The difference between a coalition and a pride. So coalition can be seen as a brother bond. So it's basically when males stick together to form a bond, and because of them sticking together, it's either for hunting purposes or to defend their territory, where pride consists not just out of males but females as well. So it's mainly females, and then of course the males that make up that group. So technically, whenever we talk about a coalition, it would be either 2 male cheetah, 2 male lions, whereas if we talk about a pride, we're talking about a couple of females and possibly 1 or 2 males within that pride. It's a whole group that are clammed together, where a coalition would just be 2 brothers, or 3 brothers, or 4 brothers, but it's a brother bond that they form. It might not necessarily even be brothers, it could be different lines from different prides, but eventually the males are kicked out at around about the same age, and then they join up because of the better success rate for hunting, as well as mating opportunities or taking over other prides. And even though it is still a warm part of the day, like, I mean, if you look at the background behind this line, you'll notice that the sun is still setting quite high, or is still quite high up in the sky, and because of that, it's still nice and warm. And I wonder, with these lions positioning themselves in an open area like this, is this just because they eventually moved and it was a nice and open area and decided to come and settle in here, or are they on their way somewhere and eventually halfway through this whole process they decided just to come and lie down until it cools down, and from there on they'll start moving again? And that's what we're hoping for. I mean, we're basically going to sit here, and there's no guarantee, but one of the things that I desperately want to see, and I know most of our viewers absolutely love it from all the other experiences, is to see them roaring. Imagine if we can get that. He's just so tired, just resting his chin on top of his leg. You'll just notice how well actually he blends into this area. Now in the summertime, this whole open area, the grass was almost like around about a meter high, so it would have concealed this line completely. But we're so lucky in the fact that because it's now winter time, the grass is a lot shorter, and because of that we were able to spot them this morning. Or else they blend in so well, especially if they lie down in the shade like this. Luna, I'm not too sure if lions could have possibly something like an allergy, but what I have seen before is where lions will sneeze. So if they do move in an area where the grass is quite tall, sometimes you do find them sneezing, especially if there's a lot of dust as well and the wind's blowing towards them. You might see they could rub their eyes. And so I'm not too sure if there's a specific that they'll have allergies, but I'm happy to just go and read up a little bit more about it and see if there's any recordings of that. But I would also love to know from some of our viewers if you had or heard about anything like that. I would definitely love to know, but I am going to try and figure out more about it and get back to everyone, hopefully by tomorrow. But it is a very, very interesting question.
So we're just ambling around here looking for that pride of lions that I said has probably got the little cubs there. Well, we know it's got little cubs of them. And one of our tracking teams actually found them earlier today. The cubs are way out in this direction in a very, very dense thicket over here. I don't know if we're actually going to have an opportunity of seeing them today, but it's certainly worth a try. But we're going to first follow up on these cats over here. This is one of the lionesses. Okay, so these tracks are going in this direction over here. Lioness, I'm just going on the size compared to my hand over there. You know, so the track is pretty much not even the full size of my hand. Yeah, big male's tracks will easily cover my hand. So this is a lioness, a single lioness over here. There'll be other tracks around here somewhere. So I think we'll just carry on moving in through this thicket slowly, following on the tracks from the field ranger team this morning, and see what we get. The reason I don't want to try to follow up on the cubs is, you know, these cubs, I don't know, they're 2-3 months old, I'm not quite sure. But if we go in there and the mom's not around, they're just going to keep on trying to hide from us. And there's absolutely no intention ever of pushing an animal just for a sighting. So I'd rather try and locate the mom or the other lionesses. And then if they take us to the cubs, that's cool. Or if they call the cubs out and they come to them, that's also cool. There was a herd of gemsbuck that actually just moved across our front here about 5 minutes ago, heading in the direction of where the lions were. So I don't know, they might not cross paths, and I'm sure those gemsbuck are going to be pretty sharp about avoiding lions. But you never know. It's things happen on a wing and a prayer sometimes, eh?
So, we are sorry for being late, everyone. We've had a comedy of errors this afternoon, but we've managed to find an elephant bull. In fact, a whole group of elephants, and they're all spread about around us. My name is Mike, behind the camera is Seb, and you're joining us here at Pridelands Conservancy. And as I said, we're with some elephants. There's an elephant bull that's just starting to move off now. Slowly moving, actually in the direction of Ndlovu Dam. We might actually end up going there a bit later. Well, this elephant is a very relaxed elephant. He's been hanging out with us as we were changing our tire in the distance, just watching us do our thing. And the rest of the elephants are spread about in this drainage lagoon, and so they are enjoying the shade, much like they did the other day. You know, elephants are creatures of habits. Most wild animals are creatures of habit, to be honest. So they will do what they do. You can hear some branches cracking in the distance anyway. So you know that there are always sticks around here. And they're just down in this drainage line. I'm going to drive us just down the road here. We had a whole bunch of elephants, a whole herd of them. If we drive along, I think we might be able to spot some of the females.
Situation remains unchanged. Vehicles have come by, vehicles have left. Not a single movement. Oh, sorry. Look, he's like a big teddy bear. The power lies in her. It's when she wakes up that the situation will change. It's... Oh, someone's awake. Going back to infanticide, it's not just lions. Lion infanticide, well, male lion infanticide is probably just the most common example in the animal kingdom. But it happens throughout, especially for bachelor mammals, that's what they're called. Lions, mountain gorillas, monkeys, mice, they're all known to attack and kill the offspring of other males. Not their own offspring, other males' offspring. But yet they display parental behavior once they themselves become fathers. Isn't that fascinating? So once, or at least they think they're fathers. So Blondie here could easily have killed cubs if they were present, which they were not when the Avoca Coalition first took reign over Djuma and the Nkuhumas. Oh, I think he's going to try and wake her up. You smell and see that phlegm grimace. She's awake, she's awake. She looks less than impressed, I must say. Sorry, Londeka, you have to go one more time with that question, I'm afraid. Jeff's Pax Boy, you're asking, is fast intercourse helpful in the survival of some species? I'm not entirely sure I've got that question right. I'll wait for Londeka to confirm. Ah, now they've turned the other way. We'll need to reposition. Quick intercourse. I'm really not sure what you mean by that question. I'm really sorry. Fast intercourse helpful for the survival of species. I'm really not sure what is meant by that question. You're welcome to also send in an explanation if I don't answer this correctly, but we did touch on it earlier. There's no need for it to be any longer. It's a biological drive from both male and female because they need to mate in order to reproduce. So I'm not entirely sure what you mean, but please send in an explanation if I did not answer that correctly. Ah, that must be a good scratch. I love it when lions do that. That's a really good scratch, everyone. I wonder how long they'll stay on the dam wall for. They've completely separated themselves from the pride. Blondie separated himself from Mohawk. I wonder when they'll reunite. I don't quite understand why lions stick their tongue out when they're scratching. It must just be the best feeling in the world. They must be hitting that sweet spot. She's still scratching. So apparently there's some hyenas on the carcass. I'm going to make a decision here whether to stay with this honeymooning pair or go to the carcass and see what hyenas are present.
So this elephant is covered in mud. We've caught up with the herd. This is a young bull. As you can see, he does what young bulls do. That's close enough, old fella. You don't need to come any closer. But you can see he's covered in mud, and he's been at the mud wallow, and they're drying off now. It's been a hot day. They were at our camp around midday, so the hottest point of the day. Until about 2 o'clock, they were at our camp. And you see what one's doing? It's actually breaking the sickle bush to get to the green grass and leaves underneath. Look at that. Oh, I think its heel, you can see that so nicely now. It's using its foot and its heel to actually pluck up some of the grasses. That's very clever. Elephants are amazing, the way they smell. So this elephant does not see what it's looking for, what it wants to eat. It smells it and feels it. Oh, clever elephant. And it is following this herd. It's quite a big elephant, so this elephant's probably, coming up to its 20s. Somewhere around there. It's no longer the herd. Just in the hopes that it might get a little bit of socializing. They don't often spend time with elephants because they get pushed away. Once they reach their late teens. But this one's obviously been spending quite a bit of time around the elephant group because look, it's being accepted quite fine by that mother elephant and her young calf. In fact, he's very close to that young elephant. Let me move a bit forward, so you can see them a bit better. It's always nice to spend time with elephants in the afternoons, especially after these elephants were so nice with us to spend time with us as we were changing our tire. I feel like I've bonded with them. I feel like we've bonded with them, Seb. We've been close to these elephants for quite a long time. The last week or so, since Seb's been here, We've literally been so privileged with the elephant activity that we've seen. We've had them feeding around us, breaking trees around us. We've had Susan many times coming to say hi in the way only Susan the elephant does. Of medical.
Okay, we got something super exciting here. Lions on a kill, lions on a kill. Yes, yes. Okay, they've just. Remember we said the gemsbok we're moving up towards them. They've just got it. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. We missed this kill by a minute. Oh my word. Yes, I can kick myself because I called it. I said those gemsbok are moving up towards those cats. It's still kicking. The gemsbok is still kicking. Oh my sausage. That gemsbok is still kicking. Any sensitive viewers, it's too late. The lions have caught this gemsbok and it's still alive. But there's my disclaimer. This is insane, man. Yes, I can kick myself because I called it and then I missed it. That was a schoolboy error of note. One day when I'm big, I'll learn how to do this properly. How exciting is it? Now, I just want to point something out here. This is a kind of thing, it's a hot day today, it's warm. It's the kind of day where people would say, lions won't hunt, they were sleeping. We got to these sub-adults and they were sleeping there when Darwin and I got to them. And as we were moving in, they suddenly got up and started running. And then I said to him, this is they're onto something here. So so the typical thing of, they won't hunt, it's hot, forget it. A lion will hunt any time of the day if the right opportunity presents itself. And I think these gemsbok probably just bumped into one of the lionesses without actually knowing it's there. I'm just going to pull a fraction forward over here, just at a slight angle, just to give you. Patricia says wildest, and this is the real McCoy. Eh? I can't believe we just got like a lion kill in broad daylight here. This is great stuff. I'm not going to go closer, like right there. I'm going to settle down now. Unbelievable. So I wonder where the males are. I mean, there's sub-adults here. This one closest to us is a sub-adult male. The one that's just stood up now with his back to us. But I wonder where the big males are. I haven't seen signs of them over the past couple of days. My goodness, eh? Little did I think this afternoon when we went out we would end up with this. That one is still suffocating the gemsbok at the front. You can actually see on the face. Yeah, go in there. You can actually see it's still got a death. Not this one licking it, the one behind it is actually still suffocating it. My goodness, eh? Yo. Crimson Tide. Look at that, eh? That male's going to get a hiding by one of those lionesses just now. He's going to push his luck with trying to get over the top there. Dinner, anyone? Can I offer any snacks to anyone while we're here? So that is raw Africa. Eh? And you see, lions actually are vegetarians. They only eat animals that eat plants. Ooh, that was a gory bit, whatever that was. Something soft and squishy. Hash has asked, and it's a great question. It's one that I've asked myself so many times over the years. And the question there is, do any predators hunt by following the tracks of the prey? And I've wondered that question. I don't think lions do it. I think this is a visual thing. We know they hunt by sight. But I've always wondered that if I'm walking in the bush and then I recognize there's a buffalo track, there's a gemsbuck track, a hartebeest, a waterbuck, whatever it is. But I've always wondered that same thing, saying, well, do lions recognize animal tracks when they're out here? In other words, watch. Do they actually recognize the spoor of their quarry, the tracks of their quarry? And I don't know, but there are things that will. I mean, there's a lot of small predators that will actually hunt by scent. And I'm going to go on a crazy thing and sound. You'll get animals that will hunt termites, and they might be hunting termites, but they're still hunting, and they'll be using their ears, just listening for the sounds of these little insects under the soil, and they dig and they'll grab them. And we know a lot of things hunt by scent. Snakes can detect their prey using scent as well. So, but the actual visual, looking at a physical track and saying, that track is a gemsbuck and it looks fresh to me and I'm going to follow it and have some dinner tonight. I don't know if that happens. Wowzers, I can't believe at whatever time it is now. I have no idea what the time is, but yes, and we called it, and I still missed it. Let's get a good guide one day for you guys, and then you'll actually get these lion kills. Well, it happens. I don't know if you can hear any of this. Can you hear any of this? Okay. So Laura has asked, and also a good question. When they're hunting, is there a leader, or do they all know what to do? Just getting some good audios here. So, the question is, when they're hunting, is there a leader or do they all know what to do? All of the lions know what to do. There's no specific leader in the group that this dictates, okay, now we need to go move there or move there or move there. They all get it. And it's actually quite funny because you see how frequently they miss their kills. And often it's just because they actually, they're not using wind. You mess up using cover, or the wind switches for the prey, it benefits the prey. There's a lot of factors, excuse me, as to why they wouldn't be successful in a hunt, but there is no specific leader. I don't want to say much. I think we just sit and watch and listen. So just to give you some idea, we're still about 30 yards from these lions. I mean, there's no need to park right up close. You can actually get a nice idea there of that scale. I mean, the camera really compresses it, so it looks like you like right up there. But we are a nice, comfortable distance away, and there's no need to try to get on top of them. I mean, they're doing their thing. They do what lions do best. Darby's doing what he does best, and I'm doing. But how exciting is this? This is just unreal. So Pat has asked, how long will this meal last them? Between this amount of lions, I don't know, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here, I think, or 7 here. This is going to be gone by tomorrow morning. Like, as in, they'll probably still be lying around here, but it's going to be done and dusted. There's a waterhole about 900 meters to a kilometer due northwest from where we are here. And so they're probably going to finish up here, go down to drink. But the cubs, the little cubs, are also stashed away somewhere in this area. So my guess is that whichever the lioness is, who they belong to, wowzers, oh my goodness. So they actually caught 2 gemsbuck. Okay, that is not for sensitive viewers. That was the unborn gemsbuck. My word. Sorry, I'm just going to show. What an amazing sighting, eh, folks? Incredible stuff, eh? I think I see 7, there might be 8 lions here. But there's, like I say, this is harsh, raw, wild Africa, huh? But we've spoken about it so many times before, how important predation is for maintaining the health of systems. And it could have just been sheer bad luck on this gemsbuck's part, or it could have had an issue with its hoof, or it could have had a problem with an eye, or whatever, that just made it that much more compromised than the rest of the gemsbuck. And it got eaten. Okay, now we've seen African wildcats and lions. Like from the smallest catcher to the biggest catcher. Actually, it's not the smallest catcher, African one. We've got one called a black-footed cat. That's like probably a third or quarter of the size of an African wildcat. Bonobo's asked the question, so I lost the question there. Oh, when will vultures start setting? Okay, that's a good question. There's not going to be much left for vultures on this kill. This kill is going to be too small for that. And also it's very, very cool. This is late in the afternoon now. So the likelihood of vultures still flying out at this time of day in this environment is pretty slim. And then thirdly, and this is just a very, very interesting factor, and we've seen vultures in some other areas of the reserve, but in this area that we're in, where we're surrounded by hills, there's a lot of hills over here, you tend to get a lot of turbulence over these mountains. And because of that, well, that's what we surmise. We're suspecting that because of the turbulence over these hills here, you don't get a lot of vulture activity because they probably don't like this bouncing up and down too much. Please fasten your safety belts, vultures. We may experience some minor turbulence ahead. Interesting how that one lion left that fetus, eh? We actually had an incident a couple of years ago where we had lions killed a gemsbuck like this, but with a newborn calf. The calf was probably a day or two old, and they didn't find that calf for 2 days, 3 days, and the calf was lying stashed in the grass about 30 meters away from the kill, and the whole pride fed on it, and then they left, and then the males came eventually, and they carried on eating, and anyway. Well, this is not what I expected this afternoon. It's incredible how there is always sound. It's not like there is no peaceful feeding in a lion pride. Things are going to get heated again just now. They're kind of like all getting into the good bits inside the rib cage there. There's going to be some claws out just now. He's a male coming in, guys. There's a male. Look at this. We didn't even hear him. He walked. He went out. Watch this. Now you're going to see some fur flying here. I wouldn't be surprised if there's another male approaching you. So Moja's just asked a good question. Would the females move away for the male to eat? If he insists, they will. But you can see his belly's full. Though it's not like he's starving. He's eaten something or someone pretty recently. And but did you see that behavior when he walked in? They kind of like hunched over the carcass like that. He walked around, started out, and they just like went down. Boom. There's no question. There's a hierarchy there. But if he was hungry, he would have run in, like as in trotted in there, and it would, and chased them off. It also depends on the size of the kill. A nice sized kill like this gemsbuck, although it's probably not going to go, well, it's not going to go very far between this amount of lions. But larger kills, there's more meat, there's more space, there's less reason for them to get super aggro with each other. On a small kill, he will come in and just take it straight away. There's got to be another male somewhere. Or it doesn't have to be. But yes, that is a brilliant shot. I'm standing over all the others like a yow. Ian asked, would the gemsbuck have gotten away if it wasn't pregnant? Not necessarily. I mean, you know, they're catching these things any time of the year, males, bulls, cows, so no, I don't think there would have been any difference had it been pregnant or not. Goodness gracious, eh? How's that for into the afternoon? And the sound is incredible. If you can zoom out a fraction just so we see that tail. I want you to have a look at that tail. There you go. See how that tail is flicking like that every now and again? That's a sign of an irritated lion, or an aggressive lion. So when you see a tail flicking, and he's not doing it properly now, it's kind of like he's half-hearted because they're probably all his cubs anyway. Well, they are his cubs. Him or one of his brothers. But when you see that growling and that tail going up and down like that, then you know, okay, there's an unhappy camper. If you haven't figured out by the growling either, then probably. Yeah, it's almost like he gets to the show late and he's actually full. He doesn't really feel like eating, but now he's like running like a greedy pig. And now he has to like stand there. Okay, there's another big male coming in from our left here. Another big male, look at this. This is the one. Now you're going to see sparks fly, guys. Look, they're coming in through there. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, my sausage, look at this. Yeah, guys. Oh, yeah, baby. This is what I'm talking about. That's it. There you go, there you go. Here you go, here you go, here you go. How insane! How insane was that, guys? Yes. Oh my word! That was, and there's the demonstration. The guy comes in, he's a little bit hungry, he will take that kill, and no one's going to stop him. But the sound. Guys, it doesn't get better than this, eh? Yes! Unbelievable. My word, my word. Africa, I love you, eh? Also, what a difference in those two temperaments, eh? That one comes in like, kind of like, all right, I'm just going to talk nicely to everyone, all right, you know, no, don't want to upset the apple cart, you just carry on feeding, little ones. And then the other one comes in like, all right, let me just assert my authority here quickly. So that sound goes right through you. It's like a Harley Davidson. It's like you can actually I wish you could feel it on the vehicle. You can actually feel the vibration from that, just from that growling. That Chelsea Bun has asked a great question there. Very, very good question, that Chelsea Bun. The question is, why does the male chase off the females, but he leaves the other male? Well, number one, the females are easier to chase than a male that's the same size as him. You know, so there's but they also have brothers. So they're a coalition. They have sired all the cubs in this pride between the two of them. So there's no huge benefit there. And in terms, the other side of it as well is in terms of the females actually, because remember there's a whole pile of females, okay, and youngsters. The youngsters don't count, but the 2-3 females, they could have actually made a bit of a stand against this guy and said, well, actually, bugger you, you know, this is our kill, we're going to keep it. But there's no point in doing that because they just risk injury, and if you're injured in this kind of environment, you're a compromised animal. So they'd rather just let them take the kill. And the other side of it is, if the males have to spend so much time going out and actually hunting for themselves, which they are very capable of doing. If anyone ever says the females do all the hunting, the males just take the kills, they have not watched lions long enough yet, or they've read the wrong books. But the males are superb hunters, but if the females say, well, actually, we're going to keep our kills and you guys must actually go get your own food, they're going to spend so much time actually hunting, you know, for themselves. And what about defending the territory, defending the pride, defending the cubs, defending their females? They need to be doing that. So it actually benefits the females to let the males just, all right, come in, you grumpy old thing, and take the kill, kind of. Just, I had no idea these males were around here. Just like, and it was amazing. That first one came in, we had no idea. He walked like right past the back, right past the back of the car here. excellent vigilance there. You know, nothing would have snuck up on David or myself, except a lion. Man alive, that was a belter of a sighting. Samantha's asked, who is this pride? So we just call it the Southern Pride, just because they occupy a particular area on Tswalu that is quite far south. So it's the Southern Pride. I think there's 3 adult lionesses in it, then a whole pile of like 4 or 5 sub-adults, and then we know one of these females has got small cubs. I think there's the field rangers or the trackers that got them this morning said they saw 3 small cubs. So this is, I always find it absolutely hilarious. These guys come in, they make such a big show and a fuss. They're still sitting on a whole carcass there. Well, not a whole one, but a lot of meat left. And yet they're going to hang on to that thing, and they're both like growling. They're not going to let go, so neither of them can feed. But they will sit there and like, just like, oh, that's male egos there, right there. Okay, oh, someone might get another clop soon. Watch this. Comes another lioness, or one of the youngsters walking in. What a fantastic sighting, sure. Not for the Gemsbok.
Oh, it sounds like a fantastic sighting indeed. Very, very cool. That lion interaction. Lots of lions at the moment. Down here at Chitwa Dam, just stopped to take in the view. Currently looking at this beautiful fish eagle. Hoping it may swoop down and grab a fish for supper. Otherwise all peaceful at the dam. Just some hippo moving about. Briefly saw the crocodile, but then he went underwater. Having a lazy Sunday, this hippo. Sometimes I think if I was an animal, being a hippo wouldn't be a bad one. To get to float or chill in the water all day when it's hot. Go out at night, get some good food. Quite relaxed, these hippo. Only downside is you're constantly peeing in your own water. Darren, you've asked, are fish eagle related to the bald eagle, the American symbolic eagle? And I suppose being a raptor they would be, but no bald eagles in Africa. They do look a little bit similar, don't they? I love their brilliant striking plumage, and of course their iconic call that you will always hear along African waterways. And very powerful birds. They've been recorded grabbing fish out of the water that are surprisingly heavy, up to 2 kilograms, 4 to 5 pounds of fish that they can grab with those talons and pull up out of the water onto their perch before devouring their slippery meal. Maria, you've asked, do fish eagles only eat fish? They do eat predominantly fish, but they will take other meat if they can find it. I've never seen it. I've only ever seen them taking fish, but I have read that they'll take other aquatic species. I've actually seen them grab a bird on the wing. Can't remember what bird it was. I'm sure they would take perhaps maybe a frog or anything meaty, but obviously predominantly fish.
So these ones are just still lying out to the left-hand side over here. The two males have not budged 1 inch. They're just like still... Ooh, there's a little bit of movement there now. No, just to carry on growling. Nice. Yes, that is still so funny. They kind of like put their differences aside and said, alright, on the count of 3, we both drop it. Look how sharp those horns are. So I mean that's, you know, there are a number of good records from various areas of antelope killing lions. You know, those horns are lethally sharp. That sable that we saw this morning, or part of the sable that we saw this morning, these gemsbuck hornsmen, they're really designed for fighting. I've actually seen a gemsbuck, oryx. When I say gemsbuck, it's a South African word for an oryx. They're interchangeable. I've actually seen an oryx here with a foot-long piece of a horn like that, you know, from another oryx, actually embedded in its shoulder, and it was sticking out the shoulder at 90 degrees. So I was just like thinking to myself how deeply embedded that must be inside that other gemsbuck shoulder. Unreal. And yet he was feeding, just walking around feeding. Yeah, nature's tougher. Nature is tough. They've got to get bored at some point. Come on, guys. You are embarrassment to the male species. And he listened. Look. Thank you. Yeah, you heard me say that. And he has asked, why are the males just growling and not eating? Just because they are males. And they are just so, like, they're so hyped up. There's so much adrenaline coursing through their veins now that they're so defensive of their prey item. Any lion will be defensive over its prey item. Now you've got two males holding onto the same piece, and now neither one wants to let go because they think the other one's going to take it. You know, so they don't think, animals don't think in like a rational sense like we do. Well, I'm not talking for the whole human population here, I'm just putting it out there when we talk about rational. But, you know, they don't think in a rational sense. So, well, okay, guys, there's enough for both of us. You have that, I'll have that, and let's start feeding. You know, they'll really try to defend what they've got over there, and that's by holding on, growling. But they are losing it. This one's close to us. It's kind of like losing interest now. It's like, yeah, you see. But it's also, you know, that smell and that taste will obviously just trigger them. You know, they.
Sounds like such an amazing sighting at Tswalu Kalahari. Now, earlier on we were sitting with these lions and this particular one started roaring. But now we're just waiting here patiently to see if he'll start roaring. So, but how amazing, I mean, look how beautiful this lion is. And what really stands out for me is that white, especially around the mouth, like around the nose. And that little bit of a blonde color between the ears and underneath the chin. So let's just wait. Hopefully, there's a good opportunity that he might eventually start roaring soon. But it looks like his eyes are slowly closing. But I'm just hoping that it won't be too long before we hear anything. So just for some of the viewers that wouldn't have been able to hear what I was saying earlier, so listen. Wow, how incredible was that? So what I wanted to mention earlier was we were sitting with him. Oh, there he's down again. We were sitting with him earlier on and he started roaring and we actually repositioned to hopefully see if he'll do it again. And on that note, he just went and he surprised us. But that is incredible. Now, if we spend some more time here, there's a good chance, probably in the next couple of minutes, that he'll do that again. And that is what we've been waiting for the whole afternoon, to hear that. So Henry, this particular male that we're looking at now is round about 9.5 years old. So in terms of a male lion, it is quite an old male lion, but they can, and I mean in this area, they can possibly push up to another 3-4 years, maybe even a little bit longer. But he is normally a male lion becomes really dominant from the age of 6.5 years onwards. But in lion years, he is a fairly old lion. However, he is still very strong, and I'm sure he'll go for the next couple of years at least, him and his brother being the dominant males within this area. But if you look at that, I mean, look at how well he blends into this area. Notice the vegetation in the background, not just him. You'll notice the color of the grass, that bit of a yellowish wash. You'll look at the shadows in between the grasses as well as the trees, and the little bit of whites in the background, especially some of the patches or maybe even some dashes or colors of the soil in the background. And he blends in so well. You can just imagine if he had to lie down from where the screen is, just a little bit more to the left behind the tree. It will probably be impossible to see him.
We've quickly came to the den. Ribbon is here, and she's actually brought a delicious looking piece of buffalo. I'm not entirely sure what it is. I can see hair, I can see skin, I can see something that looks like bone. Looks delicious either way. She's obviously brought this back to the den, or someone did. We checked on the carcass and we had Comet. Comet was feasting. We also had Sutu. And those were the only hyenas that I was able to identify. I didn't see Ribbon at the carcass, but clearly she's been there. No doubt about it. I'm slightly sad to say there's no signs of any cubs. They're inside, definitely. I came earlier and I wasn't able to stay because there was no adults. So they're definitely inside somewhere, maybe snoozing on all delicious buffalo skin that they munched on. The lions are really not far away from the den. This is why I'm here. They are possibly 200 meters maximum away from the hyena den. Now, don't worry. They're very much occupied with each other. But they were sleeping quite heavily, so I thought it was worth just coming to the den and seeing who is around. And it's only Ribbon, I'm afraid. It's been a few days now since we've had a very, very active den sighting. Adults and cubs, and that's really what I'm hoping for. But they're definitely still using this den. We know that well, because Ribbon's here. But also I have seen the cubs on a daily basis. I'm just not able to stay, I'm afraid. As you know, the policy is not to stay without an adult around. Many people ask the reason for that, and the reason is that they will become, one, it's a good thing to become habituated to a car, of course, but they will become very relaxed in their response to threats. So when they hear a noise or something comes, their initial reaction is to dart back inside the den for safety. But if the vehicles start spending lots of time around without an adult hyena around, or at least an older hyena, it can be a sub-adult as well, they will start exploring on their own. And they'll start coming out when vehicles are out, which is great for the vehicle. But what if it's not a vehicle one time? What if it's a predator? And they come out. It's very risky. It's just a lot safer for them to stay stashed inside that den than it is for them to sort of roam around free, not reacting to any sounds or any sights or any smells. So that's sort of the reason behind the policy, a general guiding rule not to spend time at the den if there's no adults present, or at least older hyenas present. But so tonight is only rib robs. So I think we may turn back around and just see what those lions are up to. I can imagine what they're up to. Tandy has been sighted. She's in Torchwood, but she's actually quite close to the boundary. So it's not possible for us to see her. The cub is not too far behind. The cub is very alive and well, getting very big. But hopefully that will leave good prospects for us tomorrow morning if she maybe crosses into Juma. Desperate to see her little one. Ribbon doesn't look too full though, which is slightly surprising. Cat got my tongue, you're asking, do all hyena types have the same powerful mouth? I'll get Lundeka to just confirm that question. I'm guessing by types you mean species. There's 4 different species in Hyenidae: spotted, striped, aardwolf and brown. And they do all have powerful bites, but I believe the spotted hyena that we are looking at right now has the most powerful out of the entire family. They're the largest as well, I believe, in terms of muscle mass. The brown hyenas are very tall. They've got longer legs. They stand taller than the spotted hyena. But I believe out of all of the hyena species in the Hyenidae family, these spotted hyenas have the most powerful bite. And it's said to be one of the most powerful bites in the animal kingdom. This sort of bite force, which is very difficult to measure, but it has been measured, is said to be more powerful than a lion's. Of course, you've got animals like crocodiles, etc., that also have an extremely powerful bite force. But in terms of mammals, hyenas are fairly up there. Well, we're going to say goodbye to Ribbon for now and head back to that romantic pair.
So there hasn't been too much life on this wicket of these 2 males. The one's kind of like just started feeding, and the other one is intent on holding on to that part of the carcass. So that red on its face is not a scar or a cut. I think it's like a rib that's sticking up against his nose. Yeah, so this is the wise one. The wise one is like, alright, let me just call it quits and carry on and start eating her. But if I don't, I'm not going to get anything. And the other one is just intent on holding on. They are magnificent cats. Wow, 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 wow. Look at the size of those forearms. Okay, things are settling down now. That one kind of, maybe not. But that sound, it goes right through you. Paul has asked a wonderful question there, and the question is, would these males be considered Kalahari black mane lions? 100%. And they're still relatively young. These males are about 5 years now, maybe just over that. Then that mane is actually going to get darker still. And there's some really fascinating research that's been done by A-grade scientists out in the Serengeti, and it turns out that males with darker manes are actually far more successful in terms of picking up lionesses. Attracting lionesses, they get the lionesses' attention far faster than males with lighter manes. And the way they did that is pretty cool. They take these life-sized lion models so it looks like a lion. It's a big life-size lion, but one's got a light mane, one's got a dark mane, and every single time the female goes for the male with the darker mane. Every single time. So all the males guys running out now and buying hair dye quickly. Those of you that still have hair. There was a spike in brunette hair dye sales after Wild Earth series. Yeah, and these ones are like, alright, we're not even going to right go back to that carcass until these big guys move off. But they're not going to be moving off. They'll feed, but their bellies are full. So I'd love to know what they caught and where it was, because I had no idea that these two big boys were here. But what would have, I mean, their sense of hearing is really, really good. So yeah, the sounds of this kill and certainly the growling that afterwards would have brought them in like a bullet. I was still so amazed at how Davy and I just sitting here watching this. Next thing, this male rocks up, and he was like probably like a meter from the back of the car, like at it. Oh, I'm going to just reposition the vehicle. Guys, I think this has been a superb sighting, but I just want to show you something that I think Davy's probably going to love as a cameraman as much as you people watching are going to love it. But feel free to pop down to one of our colleagues and see what they got, and then we're just going to reposition you a little bit. You can even stay with us. I'm also quite relaxed. And it's got nothing to do with the lions, but it's very... And beauty is what it's about, guys. It's not only about the big stuff, eh? Okay, just give me... sorry, give me a second. The line's all fine. Line's all fine. Okay. Can you watch the backlights on these birds? You can zoom in on those, and just we're going to sit here and just enjoy this, okay? But we'll be right back. Gorgeous social weaver colony, but I'm loving the backlight coming through their feathers as they're going in and out of the nest.
These two lions roaring. Look at how beautiful the moon is tonight. So it's definitely full moon. There's all these beautiful colors you'll see. Once we move out, we probably might have to go into infrared once we get back to the lion, but we just want to show you and see if we can see the different colors with the sunset this afternoon. But you know, it's quite beautiful array of different colors, like a grey, pink, purple, slight tinge of yellow and blue. And of course, having a beautiful moon and then this magnificent lion off here to the right of the screen. Now the thing is, because of the way that they roar and the intervals, we never guaranteed on when that exactly would be. So it's hard to judge and say, okay, they're going to go right now, or they might. Because this lion earlier on lifted its head and then started roaring, but also we have seen him so many times, we'll just lie down flat like he's lying down now, and from there on start roaring. But it's definitely just worth it, spending some time, and hopefully we'll be rewarded with another roar. Or even with him getting up and eventually moving. Now, what I'm thinking, what they're probably doing in this area is, so they've left the pride to quickly come past, roar and just re-establish their territory and chase any of the other males that are trying to move in out, and also just remark their territory. And from there on, they'll probably try and join up with the rest of the pride again. But it is just an amazing, like, African sunset that we're looking at. And also beautiful, beautiful moonrise.
And an amazing sunset on our side, as well made. So much better by being surrounded by a herd of elephant. Listen to the sounds of these mighty elephants all around us. Two youngsters having a little tussle there. Youthful play. That'll be valuable lessons for the fights they may have to endure later on in life. Got a big mommy right here next to us, going to show some interest. The heartwarming sounds of Africa all around us. These elephants, I hear hyena whooping in the distance, even hippo bellowing, and the fish eagle giving its good night call over the surface of the water. Setting sun and the rising moon. Dust in the air. African dust. No place we'd rather be. The youngsters still going at it, kicking up lots of dust. We are completely encircled by these elephants now. They're all around us. Just having a turn in my chair here to look. So cool that they've moved around us. All happy and content. No menace in their attitude. They're just enjoying their feed. Who's this coming up to have a look? Beautiful men. Youngsters giving each other a go. The youngster's got a takeaway branch. Gonna take it with. Saving a snack for later. Wonder where they're gonna end up tonight. Perhaps they'll go down to the dam for a drink, although they look quite wet, like they've already been in the water today. They are right next to us. This youngster is completely content because its mother is relaxed, so it trusts the situation, not fazed by us at all. Amazing to be this close to an African elephant, the largest land mammal we have making us feel tiny. Shame, trying to get a drink there on his mother's teat, but Mom's not interested. Well, this has been absolutely phenomenal, being completely surrounded by elephants. And a lovely way to finish our sunset safari.
Wild Earth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the Wild Earth family.
So, we have had an interesting afternoon. We were with some elephants, and we were, then we had a tire and all sorts of things. But then we heard alarm calling at our water hole. We came rushing over and found this hyena had walked to the water hole and had a drink, had terrified everything around there, and then proceeded to lie down on this patch of dirt that the elephant said. It's probably the most relaxed hyena I've ever seen. About 2 meters. If I lay down on the ground, I would be basically touching this hyena. It's crazy, and it hasn't even cared at all. We wonder if there was something going on here. That's what Seb and I thought. We thought maybe this lioness that we've been seeing the last few days might have popped to the dam, and that's why these hyenas have... Every time we've seen hyenas during the day to a larger predator of some sort, either a male lion or lioness, or even sometimes a leopard with a carcass in a tree. So we're just sitting with him, or her, we don't actually know, I think it's a her because it's quite big, sitting with this hyena just waiting to see what it does, although it looks like it's found itself the best place to rest. Remember, it was a hot day, and it's now very cold, the air, but the ground will still be quite warm, so this spotted hyena is just lying broad light. A gorgeous evening. Look at that full moon. I think the full moon was technically yesterday, but this moon is still just wonderful. Look at that. Just a golden orb, or a pale white orb in the sky. First celestial bodies are also showing. Wonderful. Well, our first... Oh, look at that. You can even see some of the... We're just going to enjoy this.
The mating couple are off. They just got up and they're running. This is what she seems to be doing. Run, run, run. I'm going to catch up with them. They're long out of sight, Theo. I don't know why she does this. She seems to get up and run, make him follow her. And they're mating yet again. They're just down here. Catch the tail end of it. Pardon the pun. I think we're going to go into infrared. There we go. That's a little bit better. I know I've said this, but this pair is really, really exhausted. And it's full moon tonight, everyone. I'm just going to make it very interesting night ahead. I wonder if tomorrow this will all be over. I think there's a high chance it could be, because I think they're at the very, very end of it. Bless you. And I didn't sleep at all last night, and I've only just put 2 and 2 together and realised it's a full moon. And we discuss this every month, but, you know, the moon controls the ocean's tides. The entire sort of area of the ocean is controlled by the moon. That power, gravitational force is controlled by the moon. So therefore, our bodies are made up of about 60 to 90%, 50 to 70% water, sorry. I wondered what Leo was doing there. And I thought that was an elephant in the distance. Is it not? I can hear elephants. Actually, they're somewhere around, but I can't see them because we're losing light. So yes, our bodies are made up of 50 to 70% water. And therefore, does the moon affect us too? There's debate. Some people say yes, some people say no. I definitely feel it. I can't sleep during full moon, and I often wonder, does it affect the animals? Yes, it provides ambient light so they can see, of course. But in terms of does it affect their body, their biology, I'm really not sure. But their bodies will also be made up of around 50 to 70% water. And it definitely affects me. And I know we discuss this every month, but I really have the most awful sleep when it comes to full moon. I just wonder if animals, organisms in the animal kingdom will also have awful sleeps. I don't know how much sleep this pair is going to get tonight. I'm really not sure it will be continuing in the morning. It's very exciting, the prospect of having little cubs again. The current Nkuhuma cubs are so big. They've grown so much. He won't leave her side though. He really won't until that scent disappears. Shannon, not at all, not at all. Male lions are only around for the mating. When it comes to giving birth, the female lion will actually leave the pride. And it's not that she doesn't trust the lionesses, it's just she needs to go and give birth and stash her little cubs very, very quickly in some sort of den. Somewhere maybe in the Mowati or deep in a thicket or tree, somewhere, not up a tree, but I mean at the bottom of a tree, if there's lots of roots and if there's lots of vegetation, somewhere only she knows. And just the same as hyenas and leopards, they wait until the cubs get a little bit bigger before introducing them to the pride. And because the cubs already in the Nkuhumas are very large and boisterous, we watched them the past few nights tossing and tumbling and rumbling. They're aggressive, but they don't mean to be. So they're a danger to the cubs. Not that they would intentionally attack them, but just by being too rough. So she'll probably keep them stashed with no other lionesses or no other lions for about 6 weeks. So we're going to sit here a little bit longer and see if these pair decide to wake up for one more bout of mating.
So we're really hoping that we can get one more roar out of him before the end of the evening. And we're just patiently sitting here, and hopefully that will all happen within the next couple of minutes. Now, as we said, it's really hard to time exactly when he is going to roar, but I'll just try and listen to him now and hear if there's an opportunity to hear him. But otherwise, we had such an amazing day. We've seen so many amazing animals all across the different reserves, and so imagine just that last little bit, beautiful moon night, being full moon, and having a look at such a majestic male lion as well. Just notice the beautiful dead tree, and then all the trees just on the horizon, as well as these ones in the foreground. But it has been such a good day, even from looking at some of the drives from this morning all the way through to this afternoon, and who knows what's going to be in store for us even with tomorrow. So we just want to say, from all the ranges, from all the different reserves, thank you so much everyone for tuning in, and hopefully we'll be able to see you tomorrow. And please tune in tomorrow for the show, and let's see what other amazing animals we're going to find tomorrow. Have a lovely evening.